What's up, you weirdos? Let's talk about sticking things up your butthole. What do you think about that? So somebody had asked me specifically about enemas, and I've done a number of videos on them, but let's just jump in here. And I'll wait a second for a couple people to show up, and I'll probably make this pretty short and to the point. Because this is a glamorous subject, I'm going to turn the glamour filter on. Talking about poop. Talking about keeping your colon clean and your intestines. And I'm going to wait. Is anybody in the room? Who's like, because I'm not getting any comments over here. So let me check if maybe I turned them off or something. Well, you guys, well, I don't feel like... Oh, there we go. What up, Zach, Chrono, and Eli? What's up? Cool. Okay, it's working. What's up, Eilear? Well, yeah, great topic. Exactly. There you go. So I'm just going to get right to it for the person that asked. There we go. Well, there'll be a lot of poop humor here, butt jokes, ass jokes. If I can use the word cheeks in here somehow, like the sun is really doing a number to my cheeks right now. Anyway, so the question was about coffee enemas and enemas in general. Yeah, there we go, Jake Dyer. Yeah, you did. You kind of thought that, but then you realized that a motherfucker like me would paint his nails black, and I never really had before, and then on the Day of the Dead I did, and I was like, I fucking like this. I'm gonna keep doing this. So it's gonna be my thing, I think, for a little bit, until I get tired of it. I think I'm gonna get some white, and I'm gonna do maybe I'll do that black and white. I'll get all checkerboard with it. Get all Freemasonic checkerboard on it. So let's get into this enema thing real quick. So the colon is called the river of life, or the river of death. And so everything that occurs within the body is regulated primarily by what's going into this hole right here and comes out of that hole. You have to think of yourself as a tube, as a donut, as a single torus. That you're not a solid object. You're like basically like an inner tube. You have to think about it in the shape of a donut. If you stretch out a donut from your mouth to your ass is a hole. So you haven't actually put anything into your body per se. Just because you eat something, you haven't put anything in your body. And if we start first off with what the real energy from food, the real energy comes from the electrical charge that you're getting from biting into a living food. The electrical charge is the primary mode of energy. So this is why the real first sin was eating, putting anything into the mouth, because we were consuming energy, because it's all around us. God is energy, is imagination, etc., etc. Energy is everywhere. So if I'm looking at a color, you say color therapy, it's not just therapy, it's giving you energy, it's giving you a vibration. Just like music, you could live off of music. You could live off of breathing. These are all electrical charges that are occurring. And with the food, when you put it into your mouth and you use your teeth to bite into something, there's a piezoelectric current that's running through your teeth and it comes out of that food. So what you're actually getting is a charge through your teeth into your spinal system. This is why you have 32 vertebrae in your spine, and then your 33rd. So this is the 33 levels of Freemasonry, the 32 teeth, 32 in the spine. Excuse me, in the spine. And this is why water freezes at 32 degrees and becomes liquid again at 33. There's a lot of really interesting reasons those two numbers pop up. So when we think of food in that way, for what it's worth, that there's a much lesser degree are you getting the energy out of the food once it's went into your system. Something else has happened. It's already gone through an alchemical process, and that alchemical process in your stomach is the laboratory of the labor, this is the word laboratory comes from the word labor, like to give birth or to change something, to labor over. And so this is why it goes down into Baal's world, where Baal splits things. The bowels, the bile, the ball, the bowel, Lord, lowered down here, splits the things apart into usable and unusable. And 99% of what you put in your mouth is completely not usable. In fact, in most regards, it's a burden to the system. This goes into even deeper things that I talk about, this protein myth, this everything that we eat, the myth of eating anything, really, for that matter, because that's not where you're getting your energy from. People talk about getting big, and they want to work out, and they want to gain weight, and they want to be, do they want to gain weight, or do you want to be stronger? If you want to be stronger, do you want to look like you're a big pile of meat, or do you want to actually have strength, real strength, like Bruce Lee kind of strength, right? Dude is 135 pounds, but I don't think he's one of the strongest people to ever live. Now, I can't attest to what his diet was, but I would assume it would be, the thing that is killing us is always the food we're eating. So when we consider cooked foods, whatever kind of foods that we're putting in our body, the nutrition, the nutrient value is no longer there. There's a very small amount of nutrition that's going into the body to do any real repair to the body. So if you're in a decent state, there shouldn't be any repair going on. There should be the breathing, which causes the electrical system to energize and build whatever. Because starting from the beginning, you're a single atom. That is, single immortal atom. It doesn't. There's no. The atom doesn't eat anything. Your body's made of billions and billions and trillions of atoms. They eat nothing. The only thing that is happening is something is being stimulated to become deformed or to regulate itself or upregulate itself. And so deformations come into the body primarily through eating. Dying happens to people. Splitting is die. To die is to split. Throw the dice, to die. It means to pull something apart. And we kill ourselves by eating. We've split from ourselves. As soon as you put something in your body, you're not just yourself. You're yourself plus something else. And then it goes into the Baal's laboratory, and he splits things. And he says, we need to get this shit out of here because this shouldn't be in here anyways. Here's some usable things, and here's a bunch of stuff that we throw out the back that we don't need. And you can see that it's all waste. It does next to nothing. And you can easily find this out for yourself. Eat a big meal and then try to go work out. Try to go do something. It won't work. Because the food isn't doing the job you think it is. And this is, so as we've built up this system that we have, cancerous fat molecules, blobs of this, it's all over our body, and it's especially within our intestines, our large and our small intestines. And keeping that clean is primary, is the highest form of good to the body, to the temple. And while the most brilliant thing to do would be to just fast and not eat and go through the natural way of cleansing, we're so far away from nature. People need to take this into account whenever we have these conversations about the processes of cleaning the body or to do things. Where we are as a species, as a race, as a humanity, and most individual people, you're so far away from what the real piece of human consciousness is, what the real physical body should be looking like and should be working like, and what it should be doing. We're so far away from that we have to use tools that have been built or used to get us back to simplicity. Simplicity is just stop eating and drink clean water. Well, the water's not clean anymore, so now we have to go get a distiller, and okay, so that's a tool. We got to plug it in, electricity, etc., etc. So all of these tools and all of these things we've been using that have literally gotten our way of becoming expansive beings, to use our mind to create worlds within worlds within worlds. What we've done is we've found that we're taking tools and things and trying to Lego things together, and thinking we're master builders because we're building with blocks in front of us. But the master builder doesn't build with blocks. We don't build with things outside of ourselves. These things outside of ourselves are as much us as anything else, and all we have to do is think it to manifest it. So as we're looking at getting back to compressing this reality into our own minds, we have to realize there are tools that we can use to get there. And one of them is sticking things up your butthole. And the easiest way to start is water. Okay, we're starting with a water cleanse, and then getting it to another level to do different things. A better source and a better use would be to use urine. Urine is a much better idea to cleanse with, and it's I found it to be much easier. It's much more cleansative. The temperature's already correct for the body because it just came out of the body, so it's right around 98 degrees, right about where an enema should be, and it helps to dissolve things and clean things out of the body. And then there's obviously adding different kinds of herbs. If you can put it into your mouth, you can put it up your butt. It's just that simple. So, and there's a lot of things that, because we have, again, we're so far away from the point of being healthy, that we need to use wormwood. We need to use different types of substances, things that we can use to kill worms, to encourage them to move out of the system. And we put those things, by bypassing our stomach, we're bypassing the process of the acid will do to all of that. So actually, you're not getting a full, a full source of whatever it is you're putting into your mouth. This is the reason that people will, if anybody's heard of hooping a pill or something, you get 100% of the pill by sticking it up your butt. Or if you put it in your mouth, the digestion is mutilating most of the, whatever the drug or the substance is. So when we move up through these different kinds and types of enemas, so you'd first start, the basic idea is water, but then you'd upgrade to urine is a much better idea, and then herbal enemas, and then there's bastis or oil enemas. Oil enemas are more for lubricating the systems, and those should always be used after you're already somewhat cleansed. There's no reason to stick oil in your body if your body is just a bunch of filth anyways, because you're just going to make a bigger mess. It would make no sense. So that's why I really don't bring those up too often until, I only do that for specific people to bring up those things. But once you've got to a good degree of cleanliness, then it's a good idea to use different types of oils. And the different kinds of oils, obviously, you can look into food signatures and looking through different organs in your body, say almond oil. Almonds is good for your amygdala, and it's your joy gland. And, there's different, walnut oil, good for your brain. You have brain problems, you probably put some oil up your butt, and you can lubricate your body that way. And it's going to instead of going through your stomach and burning off a lot of the good things, the good quality ingredients, it's going to go right into the bloodstream. And then above that is something completely different, which is a coffee enema. A coffee enema doesn't do the same thing as another kind of enema. A coffee enema is specifically not for cleaning out the colon, but for cleaning out the liver and the gallbladder. So to put them in the same category isn't necessarily correct. It's not. It would almost be calling it something different. I mean, you're putting the liquid up the butt, but it has a completely different process. It's a whole different thing. So once again, water is for cleaning the colon itself and cleaning the tubes of the intestines, where the coffee is cleaning and causing a response mechanism in the gallbladder to make it squeeze and pressurize itself and push out all of the bile and things like this, and it's cleaning out the liver. So when people are going to do coffee enemas, the idea would be to first do a couple cleansing enemas for the intestines, so that way whenever this happens with the gallbladder and the liver, it's going to push things into a clean, empty colon. So that way you'll know, within probably two uses of coffee, you'll see certainly what will come out, and what will come out will be depending on your level of when have you ever cleansed your gallbladder and your liver. And for me, whenever I did, I don't know how many years ago, it was atrocious. It was oil, and the smell was of the absolute epitome of what I think death smells like. And it was oil, it was gasoline smells, it was things that have been put in my body through 30 some years of whatever I was consuming. And you're also going to go through, so during this process, these kind of things are also going to be going into the blood, so it's very wise to continue drinking a lot of water. So whenever you're doing enemas, the more water you're putting into your system, the better you're going to be at still maintaining and cleaning the blood, because there's an order to do these cleanses in, and it's basically you want to cleanse your intestines first by doing something like a psyllium and fiber oatmeal, kind of, something to clean out that, using both soluble and insoluble fibers to clean out that. So that way it gives an unrestricted path for things to get into there so you can move things out again. And then next would be cleaning out the liver and the gallbladder, then the kidneys, and then the blood. But blood is always going to be being cleansed, but there's specific herbs for each one of those. And you wouldn't want to do it in the other way, because then you'd be backing things up. There'd be no reason for you to do all of these other cleanses of kidneys and the blood and the liver and the gallbladder. If you have a colon that's clogged up, you're going to be doing more harm than good. So, yeah, and I'll just jump to any questions. I don't know what else to say on enemas here other than water, urine, first way of doing it, and then the coffee is to do something completely different, but it's extremely, extremely beneficial. So, I'll dig into any questions. Let me see what y'all had to say here. And Jake Dyer, no, I don't think so. I don't think enemas make your colon lazy by any means. I think that's just no. And in fact, why would it make it lazy if you're still going to be going through the process of the muscles are going to be, doing what they do, especially if you're put in a substance that causes them to, like drinking coffee, to compress, and you're actually using them more. So, what up, Lumeno? Yeah, Zach Chrono, I always say with this plastic and the rubber and everything thing, people like to major in minor things. People are like freaking out because somebody's got a plastic cup that they're drinking out of, yet the rest of their fucking diet and life is dog shit. And they're like, well, we got to worry about the plastic. The plastic's going to make you... Yeah, I mean, if you're eating it and you're doing it every day with everything you do, but we can't get too caught up in these micro things. So yeah, the rubber bag is the way to go. It's the best one to get. Is there's a blue one on Amazon that has a really big mouth, and so I suggest to spend the extra money to get the one with the big opening at the top, so that way you can clean it out with your hand. So that way, if you do decide to do oil enemas, you can clean it out, because it's not going to... The other ones are really tough to... You're not going to be able to get your hand in there, and you're not going to be able to clean it out. What up, Logan? Is it will, power, and state of mind ultimately? Yeah, it is. I mean, that's, this comes back to the most original thing, is this is a meta universe. This is everything that goes on anywhere is, your, say, metabolism, metabolism, your mind. Metabolism means mind. So remember meta, and then look up the word bolism. You understand what metabolism is, and it's in your stomach, but it starts with, do I need to eat that? Do I need to consume that? The first thing I ask people would be this: look at a baby. A baby consumes what? Milk, up to like how many years of age, right? You could that is as much food as you need, and that's even probably more than you need. And I think the only reason for the breast milk is, I think there's a bigger, deeper thing to this, and I think it has to do with the connection and the bonding of the generations, and the generation bonding. Because if there was no mother to suckle off of, then you'd have no identification to where you came from, and there'd be no bonding there. So I think it's more of a bonding thing than anything else, and the milk is really secondary. The nurturing itself is the bonding between the parent and the child, not necessarily the milk. But when we get back into this nutrition thing and fasting, you could be 25 years old, and if all you've ever had was breast milk, you could have... Why couldn't you? You started growing teeth, you're getting bigger, growing bones on what? On breast milk. That's all. Meat is never introduced in the diet until like how many years old? It's proof you don't need it. Okay, so now we've eliminated the ridiculous bullshit of needing meat. It's not needed. And then what is really needed? And greenery we're not supposed to be eating. The taste of lettuce, the taste of the green leaves is awful. You shouldn't be eating it. The nutrition level is pretty low on it. The roots shouldn't be eaten either. The fruit is what should be eaten. But because of where we are, we eat from root to fruit. Because of where we are in this realm. Because of how we observe things and what we think we need to consume. But in reality, if there's anything to be eaten, it would be the fruit. Because that's the last step of the process of the manifestation of this thing. That here's this glowing object, consume of it. And you would consume it for the joy of it. Not for feeding yourself. You'd be feeding yourself the joy of eating. The sexual union between you and the food is the thing. But then when we went, oh, this is so good, then we became gluttonous. We became addicted. And we kept eating. And, oh, we can eat this. Well, let's eat this. Let's eat this. Let's eat this. And we fell down the ladder of things that we were consuming. But in reality, there's nothing you need to consume, because how does that... Take a piece of lettuce, put it in some water, and put it in your windowsill. It'll grow back. What is it growing from? Nobody put any salt in that water. You put distilled water and sunlight and put a lettuce there, and that thing grows. Why? Because the sun is causing ionization to happen with the water that creates the plant. It's creating life and density out of nothing. So how does that... So your body, why would it work any different? It doesn't work any different. So if you were to get into the natural world, if you get the sunshine, take your shoes off, you become part of the system. Once you put the soles on your feet, you put the rubber on your feet, and you start consuming things, you're consuming the dead world. You're participating in death. It's the cult of death. And this goes even deeper into the reason why veganism is it's connected in every way to the cult of death, but people just don't understand it. They won't see it. They refuse because they think they found the solution and the answer to all of the problems of the world. All of the problems of the world is because people eat meat. Well, yes, there is a problem with that, but the answer isn't to now become vegan, because then the vegans go to this route of they still think they need to eat. Then they're going to eat anything that has the big vegan label on it, and they're going to eat the salts. They're going to eat all this plastic bullshit. And then they're going to have... Now, they still have these arguments with people. First, they go, oh, a vegan isn't about a diet. And then people are like, oh, I have a vegan diet. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, it is your diet, because it's your deity. So veganism becomes a new deity. These are just trading the games of what is the deity. What is it that keeps you alive? Who is your God? Who is your deity? What's your diet? And if your diet is just oxygen, you can upgrade from that. Hold your breath right now. Who's your God now? Your imagination, as far as you can tell. It's your imagination, then oxygen, and then let's move down the ladder until we get to the point of eating again. So the willingness to fast is, getting to the point of needing nothing, self-substantiation. Yeah, Zach Crona, you'd still like to look buff. Yeah, that's Narcissus, right? Narcissism, the first thing, to look in the mirror and say, I need to look better than I look now. You could be bigger and be buffer if you wanted to, if you put it in your mind that that's how you wanted to transform your body. I mean, it's so be it. Do it. There's no stopping. The only thing stopping you from changing the form of your body is your ability to believe that it would take place, and that you would have so many roadblocks along the line, meaning that you're not going to see change in a week to any major degree. So your mind is going to keep going back to, that's bullshit. That can't happen. That's not real. No way. I got to eat something. I need more of this. I need to, and that right there becomes the killer of the process of actually getting bigger, if that's what you want to do. If you want to Super Mario Brothers it and go wah 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 wah, I mean, do it. But most people, you couldn't hold that thought in your mind long enough. Most people can't hold a thought in their mind for more than 12 seconds? Yeah, Stephen Co. When things are around you, it's very tough, man. Most people need to be around nothing to fast. For me, because I'm wired different than most people. When I did my very long fast, I went out to places where people were eating. That's just me. I liked it. I liked the idea that these people are sitting here feeding their faces. I would go to bars and hang out at bars and drink water. Well, people around were just like, what are you doing? Like, I'm just drinking water. Like, I would bring my spring water with me. And I'd be talking to all my friends. They're like, well, you're not drinking. I'm like, no, just fasting. Like, yeah, right. And like a couple days go by, I'd go out somewhere else and I go to a restaurant. People would be eating. Like I would just, it was interesting to me. Because people's perception of what they thought, oh no, he's going to go home and eat. He's not really fasting. In fact, I was cooking a lot because knowing that nutrition comes through actually the process of cooking something, those fumes and that steam and all that energy that's coming off the food, that was energy. That's nutrition right there. The process of the alchemical process, the smell was doing more for me than anything. I'd go through the grocery store just to go look at the food and smell it. And that was more enlivening to my system than eating the food. Yeah, I don't know, Stephen Co. I don't think there's any benefit to bodybuilding in the real world. In the artificial matrix, yeah, I guess if you have certain kinds of desires, if you believe that the only way you're going to get the attractive woman that you want is by being bigger, well, then you better check yourself and see if that's really the kind of person you want to be around anyways. Or if you want to get bigger to like protect yourself from whatever, well, maybe you should consider your environment before that, and maybe you should consider like your thought process of the way that you think the world interacts with you. And so there's, I think, being bigger, I think there's a certain degree of being fit and healthy. I think there's a certain, the body should have this wonderful golden mean proportion, and there should be a certain, we know what looks correct, rectilinearity in the body, and the golden mean, how it all fits together. It becomes beautiful, and that form becomes part of that. So yeah, there's a reason to a degree, but I think just like anything, it becomes the addiction to that body dysmorphia, and that's that's been going on for a very long time. That has to do with some of the original 7 sins. What up, Jessica? What up, Katesh? Of course, Steve P. Lincoln Kashtanek. Yeah, Lincoln, I hear you, man. That hypersensitivity and feeling everything. Yeah, I've talked at length about this with people before, and whenever I do fast, especially urine fast, it amps me up to such a level of sensitivity to the world that I find myself that I need to ground myself out. I'll go and eat a root vegetable to just because my body is just like full of energy and I can't sleep, and just because there's nothing to do, how can I be up for 24 hours straight? You know what I mean? I only need a couple hours of sleep. If you don't have people to participate with at odd hours of the night and to do things with, it can be kind of like, okay, there's only so much I'm really interested in reading. There's only so much research I can do. There's only so much motivation I have, where like a lot of times when I'm doing fast, I need to do something to ground myself out, which ends up being root vegetables and kind of slowing down the whole system. Because again, I've gotten to it as well, talking about the not only hypersensitivity, but how quick manifestations would occur. And that if you don't have a really strong, I don't want to call it a stronghold on the mind, but to move with the mind, you could get yourself in, you just don't realize that you're thinking about some negative thought for like 5 minutes, and that manifests, and that's not, you don't want that. So for a lot of people, the fasting to get to higher levels of manifestation, everybody wants that, but then they don't accept that sometimes they're going to get what they would consider negative manifestations, and the only way to deflect those kinds of things is to slow down the process. So that way you don't just start driving and get in the Lamborghini and go 200 miles an hour and think you can just whip through the, that, because that's what fasting on urine is, and anybody that's done it knows very well. So people, you need to slow down sometimes because you can't really catch all your thoughts. Yeah, Lincoln, the stuff coming out of you during the fast is horrible. And the longer you do it, When you do it in, like, if you did a week at a time, the results would be way different than if you did 3 weeks at once, because there's a compounding effect that happens after the 3rd day. So from the 3rd to the 4th day, there's a compounding effect, and the 4th to the 5th. So it's kind of like a J curve of how effective it is, because you're digging into deeper recesses of your even bone marrow, really, because that's where a big source of your energy comes from. So doing a bunch of short fasts is in no way as powerful as doing one long one. I mean, it's still great to do. It's still better to do. It's still brilliant to do, but it's just, longer fasts, they compound the energy. TikTok, cleaning and strengthening the lungs. As much as it probably go against anyone's belief system, it's certainly smoking the right things. If putting things, it's not across the board, all things are bad to smoke, because it's just not true. In fact, there's quite a bit of information shamanically and on other things of the use of tobacco sacredly, ritualistically, and the idea of the humors, the 4 humors, hot, wet, cold, and dry. And if you have a situation where you're sick, you have a wet and cold phlegm coming out of your system, to speed up that process, you want something hot and dry, which would be, that smoke from tobacco. And so the spirit of the tobacco would actually be assisting in removing those things. Now, again, this is like, think of people lifting weights these days. They have these masks that they wear, so it cuts down how much oxygen they're getting, so they have to hyper extend their use of their lungs. So in the same way, any kind of pressure you're putting, but you'd be putting pressure on the lungs to make them work harder, to strengthen themselves. I'm not saying to go start smoking Camel cigarettes, but there is use in finding tobacco or other plants, mugwort, and especially that will even help with the dream world. And there are certain other kinds of, I don't remember the names of the plants off the top of my head, but it's an easy internet search for tobacco substitutes that are not only they're helpful as well. You'll get something out of them. And then they're obviously just doing, the Wim Hof breathing methods, things like that. Zach Chrono, everybody says the light roast because there's a higher level of caffeine in it. So if anybody doesn't know this, light roast coffee, people used to think, oh no, dark roast coffee is stronger. No, there's less caffeine in dark roast. There's even less caffeine in espresso. So if you're going to drink coffee, espresso is the best. Espresso is excellent to drink. But light roast coffee is said to be used for enemas because you're getting more caffeine, and that caffeine goes up the hepatic valve into the gallbladder and liver, and it makes it do its job and push out all the bile. Steve P, you make noises of appreciation when you eat. Lots of things, lots of funny jokes there, but yeah, I also make noises of appreciation when I eat. And I don't eat much food. What's up, Pacey? Do you want to do a 3-day water fast with? Is there any steps to take? I would say the best thing to do would be to get yourself to making a water fast easier. Would be to do juice for a couple days, or at least if you were just eating meat and being really unhealthy, it'd be really tough to just go, tomorrow I'm doing a water fast. You want to get yourself closer to it. And secondarily, I've spoken at length about this. I think 3 days is the worst number of days to do a fast for. I think if you're going to do a fast, you do 1 or you do 4 or more, and that has to do with when the body shuts off all of the mechanisms for eating. So when after 72 hours, there's a process that your body goes through to use the sugars, because you run off of sugars, glucose, and after 3 days, your body realizes, oh, we're not eating. Shut these things off. Stop eating from the muscle. So this is why people that do like 2-day fasts or have eating disorders, they'll tend to not eat for 2 days or maybe 3 days. And that's actually going to eat up a lot of protein in the muscles to create that glucose, which doesn't happen to the degree it happens in the first 3 days. The first 3 days, you'll eat something like, I think it's like 70 or so grams of muscle. But then after that, it's something like 4 or 5 grams a day that it actually gets the glucose from everything else in your body. Cancers, fats, whatever's going on in your body. It eats the last thing that you put in goes out first, and the most unhealthy thing in your body goes out first. So it goes after the weakest link in your body. So the idea would be, if you're going to do it, I would suggest do a day, and then I would do 4 days or more. Because what happens too, again, to go a little deeper on this, for people that have not done fast, the 3rd day is the most vital, because right after that, the 4th day is easy. Anybody that's done a fast for a long period of time knows that 3rd day, it's the worst. Because you're like, oh, is it going to feel like this every day? I can't fast. But then the 4th day you wake up and you're like, oh man, And you go through the day and you're like, oh, this is easy. So I would say try for 4 days, and then see how you feel on that 4th day, and you might realize that you could go longer. And if you don't want to do that, if you can't go for like 5 or 6 days, then I would say do one. Do one, and then a couple days of eating, then another one, because it's about what your body's eating away at. The first day you're not going to be eating muscle protein, but the 2nd and 3rd day, as the body's not getting fed, that's going to go after the muscle proteins to create the glucose for your system. What's up, Loomis? Yeah, TikTok. So the highest form is just walk backwards. Just think about it, What is the highest thing up there? Oxygen, And the denser it is, the less integral it is for your system. So breath, then water, then fruit, because fruit has the most water in it. And it's the expression completely of the manifestation of the desire of that plant to produce that fruit. Thank you, Christine Whitehead. My K-Cole. Yeah, I needed motivation to get back on here, because I really haven't had much to talk about. I've been in this place for a little while now. I'm just like, not apathy, just didn't have anything to say. I felt like, Damn, I went and did it again. Yeah, Lumeno, for sure, man. What up, Miguel Tavares? Michael Nolan, what do you mean my take on the chakra system? I think it's very esoteric and simple way of explaining something that gets lost in the mind of what you'd call Westerners and people that become too focused on it. I was the motivation I had to make a video today initially was gonna be on the pineal gland, and just basically, I think I'll do another one, and I'm just gonna call it "Fuck Your Pineal Gland." Everybody, it's this thing about people focusing on the wrong thing. They're so. This is the answer. There's always this answer. My phone's almost dead, y'all. So maybe I'll just go into this next video, and I'll make it on the chakra system a little bit, and pineal gland. But the point of it was basically that people get so focused on one thing, they think that that's gonna fix everything. Their pineal gland. They don't know a damn thing about anything else in the rest of their body, and they're like busy trying to crack open their third eye and have the pineal gland open. Like, how many glands are in your body? Do you know how many things are going on? Everybody's like, oh, your pineal gland, your pineal gland, your pineal gland. Well, really? How about your thyroid? How about cleaning out your colon? How about like what else? Are you watching TV every day? You know, it's kind of weird shit. So yeah, my phone is about to be dead here, y'all. So I gotta go charge it. Give me like 35 minutes and I'll be back on here. And so I can't really see any of your questions right now because my phone just sucked up all the juice. Reza, ask me that on the next one. And we'll talk about the moon. It's out right now. It's been out since like 12 o'clock noon. And the other day, I've seen it twice. It was upside. It was, instead of, you know how the moon is normally cut in half from side to side, it was Cheshire Cat. It was like a grin like this. And it was like that yesterday for a little while. For like literally like an hour and a half, and then it changed. And it was right after somebody made a video on the moon being like that, and I'd seen it about a week ago. And I videoed it. It was upside down. I've never seen that like that before. And beyond the chains of human subjugation, I'll get into that too. And I think it's brilliant because, and I just haven't done a video on that. And I always said I was going to, and on all of these, you know, 20s, 30s, 40s, like old timey kind of bodybuilders, they found themselves getting stronger. That before a competition, they would fast for 3 or 4 days on water. The really strong ones would. Yeah, Eli, Jen, yeah, guys, my phone is just about to be cooked here, so I'm just going to see what y'all said. But Eli, bring that back up. TikTok. I'll get under the nail polish thing in a second.